Matteo Mancuso is in the house.
Yeah.
Hey man, I know you from so many YouTube videos. I mean, YouTube is the thing, and believe me, it's a complete another thing having you here beside me.
Thank you.
it's totally face melting what you do here.
Thank you so much.
I'm a huge fan. I am a huge fan of your playing, and every time I see you playing, I don't know what you're doing. I don't see what you're doing. It's a complete mystery. I mean, mostly you can follow most guitar players when they do. Yeah, I mean they're doing like riffing, some scale stuff, some pentatonics, Yeah. But when I try to follow you, it's completely impossible. It's complete.
Thank you.
So I'm totally lost. So
thank you.
What I mean, it's face melting. I mean, you're one of the best guitar players I know. You are.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Too kind.
That's my introduction. You're here for Yamaha.
Yeah.
So obviously you play a Rev Star.
Yeah.
So this is a special model, is it?
Yeah, this is a custom model Yamaha made for me, I believe in 2019. And they began to build it right after the NAMM show 2019.
Yeah.
Because I was asking for simply a customized Yamaha. And initially it was only aesthetically speaking, because I was already happy with the normal Rev Stars. And then I began to change just some little things. The first change I made, and that was suggested by the luthier actually, was not really my own idea, was to chamber the guitar. So the guitar is chambered, he has a chambered body like the professional Rev Star they made now. So it is both for weight relief and sound. So you have a sound that is always solid body, of course, but it has a little bit of, of the all of body sound, especially if you play clean. And that's because I wanted a guitar that was really good for the jazz sound and also really good for the distortion, more distorted sound. Other than that, I have lock-in tuners because I'm a really lazy guy. I don't want to change my strings too often, so lock-in tuners are the way to go. I have this PAF 36 anniversary pickups from Di Marzio. And then I have this strange thing here. It's simply it's a plastic thing. It's the same material as this.
It's very custom.
That's very custom.
Because
that's
you need
because
a thumb rest?
I need a thumb rest. I need to rest my thumb here, especially if I have to play like that. So it's just a thumb rest. And then that's it, normal 3-way switch. I tried the 5-way also in order to split the humbuckers, but I wasn't using that much the mid positions. So I just switch again to the 3 classical way.
Okay, so there's no splitting option here?
No splitting options. I prefer like that. So that's it. I think there's also a neck carve here, and you can see that there are 2 of this.
Here. Custom made for Matteo.
Here it's written custom made for Matteo Mancuso, very cool.
So in my opinion, you need a signature model. Indeed.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe in the future?
In the future. I'm sure that in the future will come out. We are working on it, yeah.
I mean, it's so freaking. You do all this stuff with your fingernails, you told me before?
Yeah.
You don't use a pick.
No, I never actually learned how to use a pick, so that's why I started with fingers since I was 10, so I just kept it that way, so yeah.
But your attack is so audible, so you hear every note. It's like...
Thank you.
It's really freaking. I mean, do you use 1 or 2 fingers with your picking style?
Well, it depends on the line, but I normally use all 3 fingers when I'm playing with the rest stroke. So I mainly have 2 positions. This is called the rest stroke. Yeah. So I have kind of... So I use a mix of like 2 or 3 fingers sometimes. It depends if I have like 3 notes per strings, I of course use 3 fingers. And it's always ring, medium, and index. If I have to do like 2-note pentatonic, it's usually like 2 fingers. If it is 2 notes per strings, of course. And
so what when you're doing a mixture between the 3-note per string thing and the 2 note per string?
Well, it depends on the line, basically. So it's usually a mix of both. If I have like 3 note and then 2 note, and then there are some pentatonic shapes where you have like 3 note and then 2 note on the. And I usually use a mix of basically 3 fingers if I have to go down, and 2 fingers if I have to go up. It's kind of a strange thing, but I do it because when you go up the fretboard, so to the lower notes, you can kind of do this kind of economy finger thing, let's say. I do like 2 notes with my index finger, so I kind of do like a little sweep, let's say. So it's kind of the trick that I use in order to have, like, if it's ascendant, it's usually these 3. So descendant is like a
kind of economy picking downwards.
Yeah, economy picking, because I can only do downwards, of course. Because of the finger itself, the attack comes from up, basically, like from down to up. So I can only do this economy finger thing if I'm doing like downwards. Yeah. It's kind of a strange thing, but actually a lot of bass players use this technique. It's not something new. Yeah.
How about the sweeping stuff?
Well, the sweeping it comes with time, of course, and I figured out how to do let's say a kind of sweep using my thumb, and that comes also with the other technique. If I have to do like, and it's kind of.
But it's separately picked, is it? So separately.
Yeah, it's separately.
So there's no sweeping.
There's no sweeping. It's actually like 4 fingers that play.
So it's even more difficult than sweeping.
Yeah, it's more difficult, but you kind of have a little bit more rhythmic control over it, because when you're sweeping, you kind of have to wait the pick to arrive on the string, because it's just one movement. I have 4 different movements, basically, because of the 4 fingers. So I can actually choose the order I want, and you can come up with many different arpeggios if, like... And it's a relaxed movement. It's not like I'm trying to do it. It's very relaxed because the finger is already on the string. I don't have to wait for the pick to arrive there, It's kind of so it opens up a lot of possibilities. You can do like strange arpeggios, like... And I don't have to like jump to the 3rd string, to the 6th string. If you have to do it to the pick, you'd have to do a big jump. So it's kind of helpful in a lot of ways, especially for this kind of 1 note per string kind of arpeggios. These things are for sure easier with fingers. Yeah.
Okay. How about this the high gain stuff you do, because it's hard to mute sometimes, so you're getting a lot of noise, playing noise. Sometimes. So what's your way to do it?
Well, I have like 2 ways of doing it basically. If I have to play with this technique here, let's say. I tend to use this one here because I don't have the palm available. So if I do it without, I usually do this kind of movement whenever I have the palm available, basically. But this helps me a lot to like mute the strings a little bit, especially when I'm playing like that, because my palm is over here. I can't really palm mute in a fast way. And I also use it for the tapping stuff. For example, if I have, I don't know, a big jumper. And this helps me, achieve that kind of. If I do it without that one, it will be too noisy. You hear that there is some string noise. So I use it in order to mute the strings whenever I do tapping or this technique here. But I don't really need it if I play clean.
But the position comes from the flamenco style.
Well, it's similar to flamenco. It's more
without any muting, because you don't need the muting for the flamenco guitar.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's more similar to the bass technique, because flamenco players tend to use different positions for the right hand. So for example, if they play kind of like that, this kind of stuff, their right hand is more like that. No, I have my right hand basically parallel to the strings. Okay. Let's say like that. So if I have to do, they kind of do it this position here. But so I never studied actually flamenco guitar. I studied classical guitar, and classical guitar has a different position from the flamenco technique, especially for the right hand.
Oh, my God. It's so freaking. I mean, I saw you playing with your father at an AM show, and a YouTube video. He's obviously a very, very, very good jazz player.
Thank you.
And you both are very good jazz players. I mean, normally you think, okay, when you're doing jazz, you need to be experienced, you need to be an old guy with white hair, and you do all the stuff at the age of 27.
Thank you.
So
well, it is helpful.
So it's a hard question. So how fast did you learn all that stuff? I mean, you started with the age of 10?
Yeah, I started
or
when
11,
I was 10.
I don't know.
Yeah, I started with electric guitar when I was 10, and it is for sure helpful to have a father.
Did your father give you
guitar.
lessons or jazz lessons? Or
Yeah, sometimes. They weren't really lessons. It was more like, okay, learn this tune, learn this other tune, listen to that guy, listen to that other. I never did a lesson with my father. Okay, today we do the 7th arpeggios, or today we do, I don't know, the hexatonic scale. So it wasn't really like that. It was more like a listening guide. And then I borrowed a lot of things just from listening to players that he suggested me, you know. I never would have listened to like people like Wes Montgomery or Django Reinhardt without my father, because back when I started, I was more like a rock and roll guy. So I started with the Purple, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, you know. And then my father kind of got me back in time, and he said, screw all these guys, these are better. You should listen to Wes, you should listen to Django. And I kind of got back in time, and it was for sure helpful to like learn all that stuff. And I fell in love with jazz music because of that. Like still one of my favorite players is Wes Montgomery for sure. And I learned a lot from Wes and from Pat Martino also. I try to mix everything I could possibly can.
Do you have any modern players in your mind when you're looking for new stuff or whatever? Oh
yeah. Sometimes I still look. You know, I always listen to new players. You know, there's this guy from Russia that is incredibly good. It's called Max Ostro. I don't know if you know him, and he's incredibly good player. I heard him. He's more like Guthrie Govan, Bumblefoot influenced, let's say, Tom Quayle, also like a lot of new guys. He's like the combination of these three guys, basically. And he's a really, really good player. And
I mean, the only guy reminds me of real playing is maybe Greg Howe.
Oh, Greg, yeah. Greg is an incredible player as well. He's one of my biggest influences as well,
I would say,
Yeah, I still listen to, you know, albums like Extraction or you know, there's an album, Introspection.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's from 1993. There's like all these popular tunes like Jumpstart. There's also another album, Extraction, as I said before.
That's what you like,
one of my favorite, yeah.
That's one of your
It was one of my first like fusion guys, let's say, that was playing like distortions of rock and roll kind of stuff, but with the jazz information, let's say. So I'm still into this kind of players, people like Scott Anderson or.
So that's what you studied.
Yeah, that's what I listen to this day, you know. I listen to people like Alan Osborne.
I'll say, hey, listen to Wes Montgomery, listen to Charlie Parker, but you're pulling different stuff.
Well, but mostly if I have to do the chromatic stuff, it's mostly from Charlie Parker, actually. These are actually comes from saxophone players, not really guitar players, you know. And people like Pat Martino, for example, like I stole a lot of line from Pat. And this kind of stuff, you know, all the chromatic stuff that I do most of the time comes from clean jazz players. Like people like Wes, George Benson a lot, you know. like more jazz blues stuff comes from bands.
But you're thinking of the chord shapes, do you?
I'm thinking about the key. I like to like visualize more chords at the same
And you're
time.
outlining the chords. And
I'm kind of outlining the chords. Like for example, if I am in C major, I sometimes visualize A minor or like different shapes of A, for example. So it's really useful to learn inversions because of that. So I kind of have a map in my mind of the key thanks to the chords I know. So I don't really need the chords to comp myself sometimes, because some of the inversions that I learned are not really good for comping. You know, if someone asks you for a major 7 chord, you never do, you know, this kind of stuff. You just do, you know, this kind. You just do maybe the first inversion or just the root, you know, or just the root with the complete chord, especially if you are in duo. But I sometimes use inversions also for my lead playing. So that's why I always wanted to learn some chord melody, because it helps me a lot with the visualization of things. Yeah.
But you're thinking not so much in scales, do you, or is it a mixture?
I think it's a mixture of scales and arpeggios. And it's basically everything I learned from, you know, other players trying to, okay, I hear a pattern, I want to be able to play it in the whole fretboard, let's say. So I was studying things like triads. So on, you know. And when you get that, you mix like the triads, you know, the arpeggios, you know, the scale shapes, you know. And I want to always change the direction of the line. So maybe I start with a scale, and on the descended stuff I do an arpeggio. It's never like now I use scales and now I use arpeggios. It's always a mixture.
Yeah, sure. So when you're doing the improvisation, you're going from left to right and you're changing direction all the time.
Yeah, it's always useful to change the direction of the line. I think it's a little bit more interesting to the ears.
Yeah.
And if you do like, I don't know, like that, after a while it will become boring. So people will start to predict the line.
Sure, because this is a normal scale.
Yeah, this is a normal pattern of the scale, you know. So I want to like break the patterns after a while and doing something unusual. So like,
how would you break that?
Jump. Well, let's say.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But you're leaving the scale totally.
Yeah, leaving the scale.
You're leaving the scale.
Yeah. Like using the notes of the scale, but using maybe 2 patterns combined, or maybe some patterns that are like a little bit less predictable. This is a pattern I always use. And it's a 5-note grouping, so you don't really understand the direction.
In the key of?
In the key of C.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's a little bit like more pleasant to my ears. And I also do like 5-note grouping. So every time the accent changes, if I do it well, like with 6 notes or 4 notes, it's a little bit more predictable to my ears. So it sounds better if I do this kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, besides of your playing taste and of all, I mean, your timing is incredible.
Thank you.
Your timing is so incredible. It sounds like a MIDI file.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, man.
Not sound-wise, but timing-wise, it's so intense.
Well, players like Aldi Meola, for example.
Yeah, sure.
It's such an incredible. Timing-wise, is one of the best.
I mean,
ones,
I saw the video with Aldi and you playing on stage. You remember?
Yeah, I was so nervous, man.
Did you feel comfortable?
Honestly, I didn't feel comfortable at the start. I was really nervous because you have your hero in front of you. I mean, you want to play good.
He wanted to destroy you in a way.
No, not really. I don't think Ali is a very good guy.
He's a good guy.
He did everything to make me comfortable on the stage.
Really?
We did a really long sound check. We played a lot together, so he's a really good guy. But the first,
he pulled all
the first
he pulled
1 minute,
all the rhythmic variations he did, and all the stuff like.
but I was incredibly happy because of that, because he was really playing with me, you know. But the first minute was like, okay, I'm with Aldi Meola on my right side, I have to play good, you know. And after a while, I felt comfortable after a while. But you know, Ali is still one of my heroes, you know. And I stole from him, you know, a lot of exercise that I still do, you know, in order to like improve your timing. I often do this kind of exercise, just one note. And switching from like 8s to triplets or 16s, and then again triplets, and you like fuse like different rhythms over the same note. And the goal is not to like play the note good, but actually play the rhythm part in a very clean way. So if you have the rhythm part here, if you have a very strong sense of rhythm, I think you can pretty much play anything over the chord changes, especially. This, I think, is really one of the most important parts of the guitar player. Being able to play your lines in a very clean way, rhythmically speaking. And there's people like Aldi Meola is a perfect example. Also Scott Anderson is another perfect example, because he does a lot of outside lines. And sometimes they are not even, you know, of course, they are outside, they're not even in the right key. But he makes them good mainly because of the rhythm part. So if you have a strong sense of how 16 notes should be, how 8 notes and 4 and triplets should be, and of course metronome helps a lot, you know. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you're playing the Helix here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your sound. Do you have any favorite presets you want to show? Or what's your...
That's the preset I usually do. I did it for the Guitar Summit, actually, so that's why it's called the GT Summit 2024. I usually use 4 presets here, and you know, some effects on the upper part. So that's my layout for basically every preset. So I have snapshots down and effects up. As you can see, it's pretty much self-explanatory. I have the jazz button. So I have this kind of clean jazz sound that I always use for my clean lines, you know. And then I have the same clean sound with a little bit more, let's say, high end. And so I use it with my bridge humbucker usually. I have the Trinity chorus here. And I have like an Elephant Man as delay. Then I have the crunch channel with some delay in it. And like it's a little bit more distorted than I normally use, actually, but. And then I have my lead sound. It's just the same sound with a distortion pedal. And that's it. That's basically my 4 sounds that I normally use. I have a gain here if I want to hear myself more. It's like 3 dB gain. Then 2 delays, one for like lead and another one for the chords or the chorus with the chorus. I always like this one goes with the chorus and this one goes alone with the distortion type of stuff. And that's it. I'm trying to experiment a little bit with the, you can see here that this delay goes directly here to the output. So that means that this delay doesn't go on the reverb before. So that means that I have the mix of the delay.
And the reverb separately.
And the reverb separately, so that the repetitions are dry.
Are dry, yeah, sure.
And sometimes I prefer like that. Then I don't have anything fancy actually.
What amp are you using?
I think for the distortion sound, for the lead sound is a Line 6 litigator, and for the clean sound is the Grammatico GSG. It's kind of a new amp that they implemented it on the new firmwares. Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy like that right now, and I'm using of course IRs, and you can also use the stock cabinets. They are way more customizable because you can choose the mic options. You can move the mic. Meanwhile, with the IR, it's kind of a WAV file with all the informations done. So they already choose the mic for you. They already choose the mic distance for you. Yeah. So you can't really customize too much the IR, but sometimes they sound really, really good. And I think the cabinet for the distortion stuff, it's the Greenback, Green 69, and I don't really remember where I find them, but it's really, sometimes I download them through internet, you know, so I don't really know what I'm doing with this stuff. I just download it and try some of the stuff, you know. And this is another one that I found on Jensen speakers. They do real speakers and cabinets and also IRs. And I believe they are from Italy. I'm currently using some of their cabinets for my sounds. They sound really, really good. And
I really
that's
like
it.
I like your sound on the album you did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's very tasteful. It's big and huge, and
thanks.
Very good. Yeah.
I think I used
besides
different
the playing,
sounds.
of course. The playing is crap. But
thank you so much.
But the sound is good. No, really, I was listening to instrumental albums since 1985 or whatever. Yeah, there were so many guitar players these days.
Yeah,
all instrumental.
Too much.
Good that Good that you do instrumental as well.
Yeah.
I like instrumental.
I like to do.
Records.
Most of the stuff I listen to is instrumental music, so I guess it was my natural evolution to release an instrumental album. Yeah.
So there's another one coming?
Yeah, there's another one coming. I'm still writing the tunes, so I don't know when it will be ready. But I think by the next year we will have something new, yeah. Also because my repertoire is actually very old, because I wrote the tunes back in, some of the tunes are like from 2019 or even, 2020. And they start to become boring to me because I always play the same stuff live, Yeah. The album was released last year, but actually the tunes are very old to me. So that's why I want to do something new, also because I don't want to bore myself,
Sure, yeah.
I want to write something new, and I like to write a lot with classical guitar also. Mm-hmm. It's something that I like to do a lot. I don't consider myself a classical player, but I'm primarily an electric player, but I like to write tunes with the classical guitar sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so you play in a trio? Bass,
I'm currently playing in a trio, yeah.
No keys?
Bass, drums, and guitar, no keys. We previously had keys, because the bass player was able to play keys at the same time sometimes. But now we recently added some backing tracks for some of the tunes, because I realized that some of the tunes weren't really working with just one guitar. Because for the album I recorded a lot of rhythm guitars, and there are tunes like Samba Party or Drop D, for example, where if I play like guitar, bass, and drums, it will sound a little bit empty. So we recorded some backing tracks and we play with in-ears. So we hear the rhythm guitars on the in-ears. Of course, we have a click for some of the tunes. And we have some rhythm guitars, and so I can play lead all the time, and I happy.
So you guys play a lot live?
Yeah, especially this year we played a lot.
Italy?
Yeah, mostly in Italy, but we did some outside.
So I need to go there.
Gigs. Yeah, sure. You should, yeah.
My God. Do you have some kind of exercise you can show us here?
Yeah, sure.
What is the thing you're working at the moment? What's your challenge? What's your challenge? What is the thing?
Yeah, my challenge.
You're practicing at the moment.
I'm practicing a lot of things, and I don't like to concentrate on just one thing, because otherwise I will bore myself. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that does, like, okay, now I will do 2 hours of scales and then another 2 hours of arpeggios, and it's never like that. I don't prepare my practice. I just grab the guitar and play what excites me the most in that moment. But right now I'm playing some stuff because I wanted to concentrate myself on the 3 fingers technique sometimes. I like to play like 4-note groupings, but still with 3 fingers. And sometimes it's challenging because the accent of the pattern changes. It's changing
because of the length
note.
of the fingers.
Because of because the fingers are 3 and the notes are 4. So you have like ta da 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 ta da 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 ta. So the accent changes basically every time you finish the pattern. And one pattern that I'm still working on sometimes it's something that I stole actually from gypsy jazz players, because I really like to listen to people like Birali Legrand, or Dorado Schmidt, Angelo De Barter. I have a lot of like players that I like from the gypsy jazz world, and they sometimes do this kind of stuff. And my goal was to play this thing but using 3 fingers, because I'm much faster with 3 fingers rather than 2. And because they play like I wanted to like sound similar to them in a way, you know. They
but
pick
you need
everything. Yeah. And it's very difficult with 3 fingers, because you have to think, okay, now the accent is on the other finger and all of that. It is possible to do that, because there are some bass players that use this technique.
Yeah. Like Billy Sheehan.
Billy Sheehan, for example. And you can do it in 2 ways, actually. You always do like ring, medium, and index all the time, so you never change the direction. Or you can do ring, medium, index, medium, and you go back. And in this way, the accent is always on the ring finger. So for some people, it's easier that way. I'm still figuring out what is the easiest way to me. So I don't know how I played it, because sometimes it's just the muscular memory kicks in, you know. But I'm trying to play this kind of stuff. So this is one of the things I'm working.
So you're feeling the accent. You're not thinking about the accent. You're feeling it.
Yeah, I'm feeling the accent, because if I have to think about, okay, now it's I have the medium.
The brain is too slow.
The brain is too slow. I can't think of this much information in so short time, you know. So I think it's better like to feel it first, and then of course you have to study it very slowly in order to get that muscular memory working.
Okay, so what would you think is the most important thing you need to know about the guitar? I mean, is it the chord shapes? Is it knowing all the notes by name, or is it like the major scale in every position, or what would you say is very, 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 very important to start?
I think one of the most important things, talking about visualization, because one of the most brutal aspects of guitar, let's say, is the visualization of the right notes, visualization of the key, and that's because we don't use asymmetrical tuning. We use like this. We have this major third here that screws everything up, basically. So the shape you know on the bottom strings are not the same on the top strings.
That's the problem, yeah.
So you have like this here and a completely different shape here, you know. So you kind of
totally different.
Yeah, you kind of have to learn the same thing, but with different shapes, and that's the challenge of the guitar sometimes. But I think in order to have a more clear idea of how it works, you need to memorize the interval shapes, because everything is about intervals. The arpeggios and chords are just like intervals stacked together, you know. So in order to do that, I think you need to be able to visualize, like, let's say that I know that this is a perfect fifth, but I know also that here I have to do the perfect fifth like that. And same thing with every set of strings. So you have to work a lot on these 3, and also these three. I sometimes separate, like, okay, today I want to work on the top strings, and maybe tomorrow I will work on the bottom strings. And we usually are better on the top strings because we play more melodies on the top strings. So we are usually better following our ear on the top strings. I don't see that.
Sometimes it's harder to move the pattern from the top strings to the bottom strings.
Yeah.
It's harder, yeah.
So in order to do that, I think that I should say it's like a suggestion will be try to play the same thing on the bottom strings and then on the top strings and see how the shape changes. So if I have to play and I have to play it here, the shape changes.
Looks different.
And also,
so need to learn 3 times.
I have 3 different shapes for the same lick.
Yeah.
So if you learn the lick on various parts of the fretboard, when it comes to improvising, you will be more free, you know? And also starting from the 5th string, starting from the 4 and all of that. That's the work we have to do. Yeah. I think if you want to be able to improvise freely, you know?
But it's not so much knowing the notes by name. It's more like
I think it's a mix
the relation
of both.
to each other.
It's a mix of relation to the key. So you know that you don't necessarily know that this is an A and this is an E, but you know that this is a 5th interval.
It's 1 and 5.
And I think it is the most important thing. Knowing the name of the notes, it for sure helps you, especially if you have to play in the less friendly keys. We are very good at playing in A or D, in G, but if you have to play like the same thing in B flat, for example, a lot of guitar players tend to, it's a little bit more uncomfortable for us.
But don't you do the patterns by shape and not by name?
Yeah, I do always by shape, especially if you want to play like fast things. You can't think of the notes, of course. But if you want to play through the changes and you are maybe in A and you know that the next chord will be B flat, it's always useful to know that this is a B flat, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So knowing the notes, and it doesn't have anything to do with sight reading. Sight reading is another kind of skill because I kind of know the notes on the fretboard, but I'm not a really good sight reader. Because back when I was studying classical guitar, I was a really lazy guy. I am a really lazy guy. So I didn't want to read the things because I was very, very slow at reading it. And I was incredibly fast at doing the things with my ear. So I was searching for the piece on YouTube and I just learned it by ear. For most of the time, that's why I was a really bad student at classical guitar. But then I started to develop some sight reading skills the last year. So classical guitar and also on jazz guitar when I was at the conservatory, we were of course forced to read some of the stuff. Classical guitar score is a little bit more difficult because you have way more information rather than the jazz score. Sometimes you have only like the chords on the jazz stuff, and it's way more easier than visualizing all the dots and the stuff on the classical guitar. But yeah, it's useful to know the notes on the fretboard, that's for sure. Especially if you want to play through chord changes, it's always useful to know the notes, yeah.
So it's all about the visualization. Yeah.
It's all about the visualization, yeah.
I mean, you're not able to play something you don't see, that's the problem.
Yeah, I have to see it first. I have to see it. Maybe it's a matter of hearing it first if you are improvising. And then you take the risk. Sometimes I just take the risk. Yeah. But if I
see the sound, is it? So you have the sound in your head.
Yeah.
And
I know that if I doing like
you see the pattern. Yeah.
I know that if I play that even before I hearing it, I know that it will sound like that.
Yes. You're memorizing the pattern and the sound.
Yeah.
Within
it's more the pattern than the sound. When you are improvising, of course.
That's a goal, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a matter of, I think that it's
see the picture and hear the picture.
Yeah.
Seeing the picture and hearing the picture.
It is like, see it and hear it at the same time. Yeah. Especially when you're playing through chord changes, and especially if you are playing on, fast chord changes, you can't really improvise 100%. You need to rely on some patterns, of course. Especially if you want to play 16 notes, And every people is kind of patterns. You know, people, great improvisers like Chick Corea or Michael Brecker, they have their own patterns, of course.
Yeah.
And they, of course, also follow their ear a lot. But that's because they know a lot about they have a lot of vocabulary going on.
But they cut the patterns.
Yeah, they cut the patterns, yeah. And it's almost like speaking, you know? And right now I'm improvising. I don't really know what I will say, but I have a topic in my mind and I'm following this topic. And my vocabulary in English is very little compared to my Italian vocabulary.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm trying to, you know, think about what I have to say and deliver the message as clean as I can, you know, even in English. So it's like speaking a language, basically.
Matteo, it was my honor to have you here.
Thank you.
It's unbelievable for my eyes, and unbelievable for my thinking.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how you're thinking about how you're thinking when you're playing. That's the biggest mystery for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I mean, thanks for being here. Let's play something. Or you play something.
Yeah, okay.
That would be okay.